Today we're trying to answer the question whether £200 on eBay can really game in 2020. Let's have a look. For just over £80, I managed to get hold of this Fujitsu Primo E520. It has an Intel i5-4570, 4GB of DDR3 and a 1TB hard drive that's been wiped. So the i5-4570 is a 4-core 4-thread processor with a 3.2 base clock and a 3.6 boost clock, which should be plenty good enough for what we wanted to do. So I have an Asus GeForce 1050 Ti, which I got again for just over £80 delivered. The aforementioned 8GB of DDR3 RAM, and I'm also putting in 240GB SSD, which would take you just over £200, but as an option I think is well worth it, but you don't need it to make this work. So I'm just going to connect the SSD for now, the SATA cable on the back of it. Now I'm just swapping out the memory sticks to taking out the old DDR3 stick and putting in these two sticks, 4GB DDR3 at 1600. Ideally for this machine you need a low profile graphics card. I however have a standard 1050 Ti, so it won't quite fit in this case. That's fine for me because I intend to use this for an arcade cabinet, but if you wanted to close this back up afterwards you would need to get a low profile card. They're not difficult to come by, but my experience on eBay is they tend to be a little bit more pricey than the standard size ones, but if you look around I'm sure you'll be able to find one. So once I've got the motherboard into a position where I can slot the card in, I'll just put it in place and that should get us ready to go. So here it is all fired up. So I've got GPU-Z and HW monitor running here as well as MSI Afterburner. And as you can see, all of the components are as advertised. I am concurrently running OBS Studio, DaVinci Resolve and a few other bits in the background. Let's have a look at some games. First up, Project Cars 2. I'm running this at 1080p, all with medium or high settings. So on first impressions the gameplay was excellent. To my eye this looked really good. There were no perceptible drops in frame rates throughout the gameplay. They held up really well. So across the gameplay we average 72 frames per second, which is pretty decent I think for this setup. 1% of those are 54, they really couldn't perceive their crowd gameplay. Overall I really enjoyed playing this game on this setup, I had no problems at all with it. I think this is an excellent entry point for a game like Project Cars 2, which isn't too difficult to run on even a relatively low end machine.
Okay, they defaced now. We'll force it out and just wait for it to make a mistake.
Moving on then to a bit of Fortnite action. Again, 1080p at medium and high settings. And again, no perceptible frame rate drops. Very, very playable. Now, when I say playable, I don't mean competitive playable, I mean fun play, but playable all the same. In open play areas with little action, we're averaging well over 80, but obviously in high action areas, frame rates drop down a little to under 60, but not so with notice. As I said earlier, overall I think it's a really good experience. I think Fortnite's very playable on a machine like me. I think 70 frames per second or thereabouts is good enough for a bit of entertaining entry-level play. It's not competitive as we said, but it's certainly good enough for this machine. If you want to get to Fortnite without laying out much money, I think this is a really good starting point. Finally, we're now testing some Apex Legends. Again 1080p, but this time opting for low to medium setting. I think it's fair to say that the system struggled a little more with Apex than it did with Fortnite. So although we did manage 60 frames per second there or thereabouts, it was certainly playable. And for me, this was a very playable experience. I think for £200 this is a really good bit of kit. For what I need it for going forward, it's absolutely perfect. I think if you're looking for entry level into PC gaming, this is a good start. If you've got a very low budget, this is a good start. And I certainly think this is a usable alternative to a Dell, albeit be careful of the case. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and let me know below what you might like to see tested on this machine in a future game.